In the year 382 AD, Fu Jian summoned his ministers and said, "Since I inherited the imperial throne nearly 30 years ago, I have brought peace to most of the realm. However, there remains a corner in the southeast that has not yet experienced the enlightenment of a ruler. I am prepared to personally lead a large army in an eastern campaign. What do you think?" Fu Jian was a relatively enlightened ruler, and his ministers had always been free to speak their minds to him. However, this time, Fu Jian was surprised to find that his ministers were unanimously opposing his decision, advising him strongly against waging war against Eastern Jin. Fu Jian, seeing this, felt displeased. After the ministers withdrew, Fu Jian kept his brother, Fu Rong, behind to continue their discussion. Fu Rong argued that Eastern Jin represented the orthodox culture of China, with harmony and unity prevailing among its rulers and subjects. He also pointed out the exhaustion of Qin's troops after years of warfare as a reason against the campaign. Moreover, the Yangtze River would serve as a natural barrier difficult for the Qin army to cross, diminishing their chances of success in a war against Eastern Jin. 7 years ago, when Wang Meng was on his deathbed, he left Fu Jian with his final words: "Although the Jin dynasty is situated in the remote south, it represents the orthodox tradition of China, with harmony prevailing among its rulers and subjects. After my death, Your Majesty must not entertain the idea of destroying the Jin dynasty. The Xianbei and Western Chang tribes, despite their surrender, harbor treacherous intentions that will eventually pose a threat to our nation. They should be gradually eliminated for the benefit of the country." In just 18 short years, Wang Meng helped Fu Jian transform a weak D-tribe regime into the largest power in the Central Plains region. The rapid development of the Qin dynasty came too easily, too swiftly. Fu Jian's aspiration to unify all under heaven, to merge the various ethnicities into one family, expanded rapidly. Crown Prince Fu Hong, Zhongshangang Fu Xing, and even Fu Jian's beloved concubine, Lady Zhang, all opposed the campaign against Jin. Zhongshangang Fu Xing advised against it, saying, "I've heard that during the time of Ji Liang in the Sui state, the people of Chu greatly feared him. When Gong Zhiqi served as an official in the state of Yu, Jin never dared to invade because of the presence of capable individuals in the country. Ignoring the counsel of wise ministers will lead to imminent downfall. This serves as a lesson from the past and a guide for the future. Yangping Gong, Fu Rong, is the mastermind of the state, yet Your Majesty does not heed his advice. Jin has capable individuals like Huan Chong and Xian, yet Your Majesty intends to raise troops to attack them. I am truly puzzled by this behavior." At this moment, the mayor of the capital, Chang'an, Morong Chue, expressed his support for the campaign against Eastern Jin to Fu Jian. Fu Jian was delighted to hear this and said to Morong Chue, "You are the only one in the world who can help me pacify all under heaven." In May of the year 383, the western commander of Jin, Huan Chong, led a force of 150,000 troops to attack Shenyang. Learning that Qin was about to attack Jin, Huan Chong decided to strike first, catching Qin off guard and capturing several cities. Fu Jian hastily dispatched his sons, Prince Fu Rui and Morong Chue, leading a combined force of 50,000 cavalry and infantry to resist the Jin army and relieve Shenyang. During the clash between the two armies, Morong Chue ordered the Qin soldiers to ignite numerous torches and hang them on trees at night. The continuous blaze for several miles confused the Jin soldiers across the river, causing panic as they couldn't discern the number of Qin troops advancing from the north. Huan Chong immediately ordered a retreat, resulting in a victory for the Qin forces without engaging in battle. Fu Jian was overjoyed by this turn of events. The voluntary retreat of the Jin army, without any losses, was interpreted by Fu Jian as a sign of the weakness of the Jin forces and the incompetence of their commander, Huan Chong. This further strengthened his resolve to proceed with the campaign against Eastern Jin. In the year 383 AD, in August, Fu Jian marched his troops towards Eastern Jin. He ordered the Grand General of the expedition to the east, Fu Rong, to lead a vanguard of 250,000 infantry and cavalry, including Zhang Hao, Liang Qing, and Morong Chue, to bypass the main forces of Eastern Jin in the west and head straight for the strategically important town of Shouyang in the east. The Qin army's flags and drums stretched endlessly, forming an unbroken line. Upon hearing the news, both the court and the people of the eastern Jin capital, Jiankong, were filled with extreme panic. However, the prime minister, Xian, remained calm and composed. Xian dispatched Xia Shi, Xia Xian, Xia Yan, and Huan Yi, among others, to lead 80,000 soldiers to resist the Qin forces. Upon hearing of the critical situation in the eastern front, Huan Chong, the commander of the western front of eastern Jin stationed in Jingzhou, planned to allocate 3,000 elite soldiers specifically to defend the capital, Jiankong. However, Xian, upon receiving the dispatched soldiers, said to them, "I have already made arrangements here. You should go back and reinforce the defense on the western front." The soldiers returned to Jingzhou and informed Huan Chong of Xian's decision. Huan Chong was deeply concerned. He said to the soldiers, "Duke Xia's composure is indeed admirable, but he lacks understanding of warfare. Despite the imminent arrival of the enemy, he remains so leisurely. With such a small force, he even dispatches inexperienced young men to command. I fear we are all doomed to fail and be captured." The Qin army's strength was more than 10 times that of eastern Jin's, causing General Xia Xian to feel a bit nervous. Before departing, Xia Xian went to bid farewell to Xian and seek advice on how to conduct the upcoming battle. However, he found Xian completely composed, showing no signs of fear. Xian replied, "The court has made other arrangements." Then he fell silent. Xia Xian dared not ask further questions. Xian then drove to his villa in the mountains to gather with friends and family. It wasn't until evening that he returned, convening generals like Xia Shi and Xia Xian, and explaining the strategy to counter the Qin army's invasion. In October, Fu Rong captured the strategically important town of Shouyang, capturing the eastern Jin defending general and besieging the 5,000 naval forces led by the eastern Jin general Hu Bin, who came to reinforce, on the northern bank of the Huai River at Xianshi Mountain. While Fu Rong besieged Xianshi Mountain, he dispatched the renowned General Liang Qing to lead 50,000 soldiers to guard the western bank of the Luojian River, blocking the advance of the main forces of eastern Jin led by generals like Xia Shi and Xia Xian. Meanwhile, on another front, Morong Chui captured Yunqing, modern-day Anlu, Hubei, and killed the Jin general Wang Taiqiu. After Morong Wei arrived to take over Yunqing, Morong Chui led his troops to advance further to Zhangkou, becoming the Qin army with the fastest advance and penetrating the deepest into Jin territory among all the Qin forces. For many years, facing the military threat from the northern Di tribe regime, the Qin dynasty, the prime minister of eastern Jin, Xian, had long been preparing for war. Despite criticism from others, Xian vigorously recommended his own nephew, Xia Xian, to be in charge of military command along the northern bank of the lower Yangtze River. Xia Xian had previously served under the late former military commander of eastern Jin, Huan Wen, for many years and had received Huan Wen's favor and trust. Upon assuming office, Xia Xian actively recruited resilient and brave refugees who had fled from the turmoil in the north to the south. He organized them into a military force known as the Northern Garrison Army, also called the Northern Garrison Soldiers. Among these people, he selected the bravest and most capable individuals and appointed them as leaders of the Northern Garrison Soldiers. The soldiers of the Northern Garrison Army harbored deep hatred towards the northern nomadic tribes and possessed formidable combat abilities. At this time, the influential figure of eastern Jin, former Prime Minister Huan Wen, had passed away, and his brother Huan Chong had taken command of the eastern Jin army. Huan Chong was mild-mannered, loyal, and patriotic. Maintaining a close relationship with Xia in eastern Jin was a regime established with the support of prominent families from both the north and the south after the southern migration of the Sima imperial clan from western Jin. Faced with the threat of invasion from the northern Di tribe regime, the looming recurrence of the disaster of Yongjia, eastern Jin's monarchs, ministers, the various prominent families from both the north and the south, as well as the populace, were more united than ever. Patriotism surged, and both the military and the people set aside personal grievances, organizing themselves under the command of Prime Minister Xian to jointly resist the invasion from the northern nomadic tribes.